Hello friends, today we discuss acceleration. In the last session, we discussed the term velocity of a moving object and we've seen that it is the speed with a direction. Speed of a moving object in a specific direction is known as velocity. And the velocity can change by changing the magnitude of speed or changing the direction of motion or by changing either this magnitude of speed or direction. However, if there is any change in velocity, we can say there is an acceleration for the moving object. So, acceleration of a moving object is the change in velocity of the moving object in unit time. Let us see how we can express the acceleration of a moving object. Here, the acceleration is measured as the change in velocity of the moving object in a unit time. So, we are writing an expression for the acceleration as acceleration is equal to change in velocity. Acceleration is the change in velocity in unit time. If there is any change in velocity and acceleration is measured as change in velocity in unit time. For example, in a motion, the object having an initial velocity u, say a symbol to represent initial velocity is u, it having an initial velocity is u, and after a time t its velocity become v, so its final velocity is v. The time taken for this change is t. And how can you find the acceleration? By definition, acceleration is the change in velocity in unit time. Change in velocity in unit time. Here, what is the change in velocity? V minus u, final velocity minus initial velocity. What is the time taken for that? T is the time taken for. So, acceleration is equal to change in velocity by total time taken. What is the change in velocity? Final velocity minus initial velocity. What is the time taken for that? T. So, an equation for acceleration is a equal to v minus u by t. Acceleration is equal to a is equal to v minus u by t. And the SI unit of acceleration is the unit of velocity, change in velocity is meter per second by the time second. So, meter per second square. The SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. For a moving object, acceleration can be positive or negative. Let us see what is the positive acceleration and the negative acceleration. If the speed of a moving object is increases, for example, here we have an object starting from O and after 1 second its speed is 2 meter per second. 2 second its speed is 4 meter per second. And after 3 seconds 6 meter per second, like this. Here the speed of the object increases. And here in every 1 second its speed increases by 2 meter per second. In every 1 second its speed increases by 2 meter per second. So its speed increases, so it having a positive acceleration. What is the magnitude of acceleration? What is the increase in speed in unit time? what is the increase in speed in 1 second? That is 2 meter per second. So what is its acceleration? Acceleration is 2 meter per second square. 2 meter per second square. Okay. Then suppose a moving object, when our observation start, it having a speed of 10 meter per second. Okay, when our observation start, a body having a speed of 10 meter per second, after 1 second its speed become 7 meter per second, and after 2 seconds its speed become 4 meter per second, like this, and after 1 more second its speed become 1 meter per second. Now what happened? Its speed decreases. Its speed decreases. So again we can find what is the decrease in speed. What is the decrease in speed in 1 second? What is that? 3 meter per second. So its acceleration is 3 meter per second square. But as speed decreases, we can say it is negative value. Negative acceleration. The negative acceleration is commonly known as retardation or deceleration. It is nothing but it is a negative acceleration, can be commonly known as retardation or deceleration. So acceleration can be positive or negative. Acceleration is the change in velocity in unit time. Acceleration is the change in velocity in 1 second or in unit time. It can be positive or negative. Positive acceleration means the velocity increases. Negative acceleration or retardation means the velocity decreases during the motion. Now, the velocity change can be uniform. The velocity change can be in uniform. Here, there is a uniform change in velocity. In every 1 second, its velocity increases by 2 meter per second. Here also, in every 1 second, its velocity decreases by 3 meter per second. So, these are uniform accelerated motion. These are uniform accelerated motion. What does it mean? The change in velocity, the magnitude of change in velocity is constant, or the amount of change in velocity is constant in equal interval of time. Then it is known as a uniform accelerated motion. It is known as what? A uniform accelerated motion. There is a uniformity in the acceleration. In every 1 second, the change in velocity is same. So uniform accelerated motion. An example, when we are throwing an object in the upward from the ground, if you are throwing an object in the upward direction, in every 1 second, its speed decreases by 9.8 meter per second. So when a body is moving upward, it have an acceleration of minus 9.8 meter per second square. Minus 9.8 meter per second square. It means that in every 1 second, its speed decreases by 9.8 meter per second. When a body is falling down, in every 1 second, its speed increases by 9.8 meter per second. Its meaning is that it having a positive acceleration. When body coming down or falling down, its speed increases by 9.8 meter per second. Uniform accelerated motion. Example for uniform accelerated motion. But in most of motion, majority of the motion, this change in velocity may not be uniform. Means unequal changes in velocity in equal interval of time. Unequal changes in velocity in equal interval of time. Then we can call it is a non-uniform. It is a non-uniform accelerated motion. Accelerated motion. Non-uniform accelerated motion. A body is said to be in non-uniform accelerated motion if the change in velocity is not uniform. in equal interval of time, unequal amount of change in velocity, non-uniform accelerated motion. So an acceleration is nothing but it is the change in velocity of a moving object in unit time. Commonly in uniform motion, there is no change in velocity or there is no change in speed. So there is no acceleration for such a uniform motion. But if the motion is not uniform, there is some changes in velocity, and if you are finding what is the changing velocity in unit time, that term is known as acceleration. So this acceleration is also a vector quantity. It have a direction. Acceleration have a direction. They have both magnitude and direction. So acceleration is what? Acceleration is a vector quantity. Like our velocity, it is a vector quantity. The direction of acceleration is same as the direction of velocity. And we wrote an expression for acceleration A equal to V minus U by T. What are the? A is acceleration, V is final velocity, U is initial velocity, T is time. A equal to, this was the expression, A equal to V minus U by T. And it can be positive. A can be positive or negative. If the velocity increases, A is positive. If velocity decreases, A is negative. And acceleration can be uniform or non-uniform. Uniform acceleration means, what is uniform acceleration? If the change in velocity is constant in equal interval of time, it is a uniform accelerated motion. If the magnitude of change in velocity is not constant in equal interval of time, it is a non-uniform accelerated motion. Now we are doing a question to find acceleration of a moving object. See the question. A bus decreases its speed from 20 meter per second to 10 meter per second. 20 meter per second to 10 meter per second in 5 seconds. So you have to find the acceleration of the bus. So write whatever given here. Initial velocity. What is initial velocity? The bus is moving with a speed of 20 meter per second. So initial speed is 20, or initial velocity is 20 meter per second. Okay, then what is final speed? Final speed or final velocity is equal to, final velocity is equal to 10 meter per second. Final velocity is 10 meter per second. What is time taken for this change? The time taken is 5 seconds. Time taken for the change in velocity is, or change in speed is 5 seconds. And how can we find the acceleration? Acceleration is equal to, what is equation? Acceleration is equal to final velocity minus, final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time taken for the change. What is final velocity? Final velocity is 10 meter per second. What is initial velocity? 20 meter per second. What is the time taken for this change in velocity? It is 5 seconds. So that is equal to 10 minus 20. What is that? Minus 10 by time taken 5. Minus 10 by 5. That is what? Minus 2. What is unit? Meter per second square. The acceleration of the bus is negative. So we can call it is a retardation. As the speed of the bus decreases, it having an acceleration of minus 2 meter per second square. Minus 2 meter per second square.